they never chose to view me as a separate entity. It was always an extension of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, they should have a say in every aspect of my life, including my child.
Welcome to the Bad Mothers Podcast. I'm Monica Cardenas. This week, we're continuing the series of stories from estranged siblings. As I've mentioned before, when I put out a call for these kinds of stories, I heard from a few very generous people. And this week, we're hearing from Jaime. First of all, thank you, Jaime, for being here on the Bad Mothers Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And can you tell me first how long you've been estranged from your parents?
It'll be going on pretty close to 6 years now. Yeah.
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 And how old are you now, if you don't mind sharing?
I will be turning 47
Okay.
shortly. So, yeah.
Did your estrangement from your parents, we'll talk about, the reasons for that in a minute, but did you see it as a problem in your relationship with your, you have one younger brother and one younger sister, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping initially that it wouldn't be, that I would be able to continue to have some semblance of a relationship with them. However, with my sister, it very quickly deteriorated. So I haven't spoken to her now in pretty close to about the same amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it wasn't surprising, but disappointing.
Yeah.
My relationship with my brother ended actually fairly more recently. And again, I wasn't terribly surprised just because he was incredibly close with my dad, and I am not, was not,
Mm-hmm.
won't ever be.
Mm-hmm.
So we did really, he was very respectful with my boundaries and with, conversations. Like, he would let me lead the conversations and things like that, and let me ask the questions. He never pushed, for reconciliation or pushed to discuss the situation, which again, I really appreciated. But it was getting harder over the years, I guess, to kind of talk around the situation.
Yeah.
So I can see why it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't for it was a good try. It really was. But I definitely did feel like him and I had two very different sets of parents.
Okay. Did you
So
feel, as the oldest sibling, like you were treated differently growing up to
oh
your
yeah,
brother and sister?
yeah, absolutely. I think my parents did the best that they could. I'm not condemning them with that. With everything that I've been reading and, listening to people discuss, I can forgive up to a point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, like when you're an adult and you have a child, and that child is now an adult, you do absolutely have to reevaluate your relationship with that person. And they are a person. And I think with my parents, they never chose to view me as a separate entity. It was always an extension of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, they should have a say in every aspect of my life, including my child.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, no, like I can't really let that slide. And I think the major turning point for me with that part of my adult to adult relationship with my parents was my daughter actually coming to me and looking at me, and she's like, "Mom, I don't like how they treat you."
Mm. How old was she when that happened?
Oh, and she was like 12.
Mm.
I'm like, oh my God, like, yeah, a 12-year-old is picking up on this,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
What
know?
was it when you were a kid? What was it about how they treated you that was a problem, or how did they treat you differently to your siblings?
Well, because I was the oldest, I was expected to do more, to be more, to be, like second mom, essentially.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, and that was, I mean, it's a lot of pressure to put
Mm.
on a child, on
Yeah.
anyone, really. Um, and I didn't realize that at the time. I can see it now, that they were very much setting me up to be in competition with my brother and sister.
Mm. Hmm.
So instead of having, siblings and peers, I had competitors.
Yeah. Yeah. So it made it,
Um,
I guess, even in adulthood then that created a
yes,
wedge between you and your
yeah,
siblings.
yeah, it absolutely did. With my sister and I, it did help that, like we had our children fairly close together. So we relied on each other for quite a number of years because we were
Hmm.
very much in the same boat. And she actually lived just across the street from me
Oh, wow.
for a couple of years.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, with me and my brother, it felt like we were raised in very different homes,
Mm.
very different. Um, and only having like the one child myself, I can't really speak to as to whether or not I would have chosen to have done what my parents did. I would hope that I didn't, wouldn't have.
Yeah.
um,
What is it that how did what was the distinction, I guess, between you and your brother and how they treated you each?
they definitely expected different things from me. Like I was expected to get good grades. I was expected to help with the stuff, like the housework, the yard work. I was expected to be an example.
Mm.
I was expected to obey. Um, and my brother was very much like he got to do all the fun things. And he didn't have to do like housework or yard work or anything like that. Like he was a teenager and he still didn't know how to unload the dishwasher
Mm.
because he
Sort
didn't
of,
have to do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of stereotypical younger child and the boy, right? That
Yeah,
gets sort of
definitely.
doted
And
on.
I mean, like, because he was literally like the spitting image of my dad. And my
Mm.
dad, I think, desperately wanted a boy.
Hmm.
That made a big impact too. Um, so, yeah, definitely birth order and gender played a large role
Yeah.
in my family, unfortunately.
Um, can you talk about then how those problems sort of, persisted or changed in adulthood in your relationship with your siblings?
Um, I think as I got older, the expectation was that as I was growing as a person, um, my parents would treat me as such. And that my siblings would treat me as such too. You're never going to be the same person from one moment to the next.
Mm.
That's just not how human beings work. We're designed to learn and to grow, and to expand ourselves. And my parents either chose not to acknowledge the fact that, they had living human beings for children. um, or they just, I have no idea. I genuinely do not. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Well, I guess I was asking how your relationship with your siblings was troubled in adulthood as a
Oh,
result of all
yeah, it
this.
definitely, sorry. Yeah, no, I kind of went off on a bit of a
Well,
sidetrack there.
it's sparked another question, but go ahead and answer this
Okay.
one.
I think definitely like the competition part of it
Hmm.
played, a rather large part. And I think as I got older too, and I was able to kind of see things with a little bit more clarity, it definitely it made me realize like how differently each of us was treated. And you're like, well, of course, you're different people, your parents would treat you differently. And it's like, yeah, no, like they treated us completely differently.
Hmm.
um and it wasn't so much as to what our needs were, it was to what their needs were.
Hmm.
So I feel personally that it definitely put a strain on things, with their behavior, and then with myself starting to have that clarity. I knew deep down that it was just going to be a matter of time before things either got better or got way worse.
Yeah.
And I knew it wasn't going to be on me, that it was going to have to be, unfortunately, on them, for recognizing whether or
Yeah.
not, they were willing to go through and accept that I've changed as a person.
Yeah.
And yeah, so no, they didn't.
Hmm. I think that's important to dwell on is that the problems that led to the estrangement were more rooted in the present, right? Like
Yeah,
the things that went that you think were wrong in your childhood and how you were all treated differently, of course, hurt you. But I think it's important in all the estrangement discussion lately to point out that that's not why you had to
no,
cut ties with your family, right? So
no,
it sounds like you grew and evolved and
yes,
changed and no longer fit with them or they
no,
wouldn't let you fit, right? So
yeah.
how did that happen? I guess what were the breaking points for you?
Well, with my sister, it was fairly straightforward. My nephew had gotten arrested, and she called me up one day and she said, "We have to talk about this. Your nephew needs, I think it was like $1,500 or something like that, to be bailed out. So that's what I need from you, or that's what I want from you, or whatever." And I was just like, oh, I cannot deal with this right now. I was in the middle of other stuff. So I told her, I said, if you want to discuss this, you can talk about it with my husband. I mean, we've been together now for almost 30 years. So he's known her for just as long as he's known me.
Hmm.
Um, so I just felt comfortable with just saying, like, you deal with this, I can't. And that was, yeah, the last time that I talked to her.
Mm.
Because he just basically said, like, no, be like you, this is your adult son. You can't come to us asking us for $1,500 because you screwed up, your kids screwed up. I,
And
I
she
think
just
I
didn't want to talk to you again after that because you
no,
wouldn't give her the
no,
money?
she blocked me on everything after that. And then she tried to go through my daughter. I think it was about a year or so later. She was sending her messages on, I think it was like Snapchat or Instagram or something like that, and saying, I really miss your mom, and tell your mom, that she needs to get a hold of me. And I'm like, no, no,
Mm.
no, 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 no. You do not get to use my kid to come after me.
Yeah.
That's not happening. So I just told my daughter, I said, you can just tell your aunt, if she wants to get a hold of me, she knows how to do it, and it is not through you. I said, that is no, not happening. With my brother, it just ended a little bit more organically. We just kind of found that we were having less and less to discuss. I loved hearing about my nephews. Um, he really wasn't that interested in hearing about, my day to day stuff. He wasn't interested in hearing about, my daughter or my husband or my work or anything like that. So, yeah. And I think he could kind of tell, like, I tried to keep our conversations fairly neutral, but I did find that every time that we were talking, that it was getting more difficult to keep things neutral.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, there's only so much nothing that two people can talk about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
And I guess it would at some point start to feel really artificial because you
yes,
both know that you're not talking about certain
yes.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't relieved,
Hmm.
because I was a little bit, definitely sad, yes, but also to the point where it was like, yeah, like I can't hear you talk anymore because all I'm hearing is like my parents' words coming out of his mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, no, I can't do that anymore. I'm sorry. So when he stopped, returning my calls and he stopped calling me, yeah, I was sad but grateful.
Hmm. What was it that sparked, you think, your estrangement from your parents? Did it happen at the same time? Both parents, or
Yeah, I was never close with my dad to begin with. I was always closer with my mom. But there was definitely things that, like, I think everyone is just kind of under the impression that it's like one thing.
mm-hmm.
Um, and it's like, well, no, it's the culmination of decades of events.
Right.
Um, but what had done it for me was the realization that she was trying to sabotage our vacation as a family, which we didn't do very often. So for us to do it it was very important. Um, it was very meaningful. It was something that we didn't take lightly, and it just all of a sudden it just hit me that, like, my mother was not she wasn't happy for me. She wasn't happy that, oh, like my daughter and her husband and my granddaughter can go on this vacation and they can enjoy themselves. She never wanted that.
Mm.
My mother was incapable of genuinely being happy for me. It was always like a competition, and
Mm-hmm.
there was always that jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when she tried to sabotage our last vacation, that was it for me. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, she even told me flat out at the end of the conversation, she's like, I know you're never going to speak to me again after this. So
Wow.
yeah. So it's not like she didn't know what she was doing. You can't tell me that she didn't know. And this
Mm.
is a grown ass adult.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so no, it's not some, 16-year-old that's, had their first baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, like she was in her, 50s when she told me this. So no, I'm sorry, but no, you don't get to treat me like that, and you don't get to treat my family like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we talk about this a lot on this podcast when I speak to other people who've have similar stories. And to anyone else, if you just told that story on its own, it
Yeah,
sounds
I know.
silly, right?
It does. Yeah.
But if you know that it's, that kind of behavior that you've experienced over and over and over,
Yeah.
this was just the moment that it became too much.
For me, it was it was like a moment of absolute clarity, where I was finally like, oh my God, this has always been like this. It's always going to be like this. Like, and it's not going to get better. Like, nothing's going to change
Mm.
unless I make the change. And I went very low contact for, I would say, probably the better part of a year. And during that year, it was a very long year because I kept hoping that something would happen.
Mm.
You know, I think I was really hoping that she would all of a sudden be like, you know, oh my God, like my oldest is barely speaking to me. Like, I haven't talked to her in, like, physically, like actually talked to her in like well over a year. There was just, a handful of text messages, and that was it. To go from talking with someone at least once a day over the phone, sometimes even more than that,
Mm-hmm.
to not, I don't know. I just kind of was really, I was hoping that there would be this miraculous change,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
she would come to me and she would apologize and, maybe offer counseling or something. I was just, and then after a while of me just kind of sitting there in limbo and sitting on pins and needles and doing this every single day, I realized, like, I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this anymore. She's not going to change. She's not going to make any effort. My dad, he was just no contact,
And
period.
were they married they're still married?
They're still married, as far as I
So
know.
when you had that falling out with your mother over the
Yeah.
vacation, is that when you ended up not speaking to your dad anymore either, just because they
Yeah.
live together?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have a great relationship with my dad anyway.
Hmm.
So honestly, when I just stopped talking to my mom, it never occurred to me to try to reach out to my dad
Hmm.
because he was never there for me anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't occur to me to try and fix the relationship through him.
Mm.
And I still don't. I'm like, honestly, I'm fine with that. And like my dad and I feel are two entirely different people. And I think that as an adult, I wouldn't want to be friends with him. Like, if I just, ran into him on the street or something like that, I would not want to have any kind of a relationship with him.
Hmm.
So I was perfectly fine with that aspect of it. I'm like, that is a lost cause. That is a dead limb. It is, it didn't hurt me much one way or the other.
Yeah.
As I know, and it sounds very cold. But yeah, my dad wasn't a very good person
Yeah.
to have in my life.
Yeah. And do you think, well, I assume your siblings are still in contact with your parents.
I have no idea,
Mm.
honestly. No clue. I would assume so. The last that I heard, like, my sister was still living in the city there with my parents. They're so enmeshed with each
Mm.
other's lives that
Yeah.
I don't see that ending anytime soon.
Mm. Hmm.
As for my brother, I have no idea.
It sounds to me like you and your siblings, the problems in your relationship, of course, are rooted in how you were raised
Mm-hmm.
together. But it seems like the current conflicts are your own,
Yes.
in adulthood. So
Yeah.
I guess my question is, it seems in some cases, if the parent is sort of the wedge between siblings, like if one sister is close with the mother and the other one had to be no contact, then the one that's close to the mother has to choose between the mother and the sister, right? But
Right.
it sounds like in your case, it's not exactly like that. Do you think that your parents are a wedge now, or are the problems between you and your siblings sort of your own and maybe
Yeah.
unresolvable?
Probably a bit of both. I think it's mainly to owing to the fact that I am a totally different person now than what I was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't go back to being the person that I was before. And I can't go back to putting on the blinders and ignoring things. And I can't and I won't.
Yeah, and I
And
guess they don't want to know you the way that you are now. Is that it? I mean,
no, I don't think so. And I think like that competitiveness and the
mm,
jealousy and stuff like that that my parents instilled is there with them.
hmm
They can't be cheerleaders. They
Yeah.
can't, look at me and be like, oh, I'm so proud of you, or, good for you, and mean it.
Yeah.
They
And which
cannot
is
do
what you
that.
expect from your family
Oh
as a
yeah, no.
minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Like it's something that I'm hopeful that one day, they'll get to the same point that I'm at. But realistically, I know that it's not going
hmm
to happen. They're so enmeshed with my parents,
hmm
and what my parents want of them, that there's just
Yeah.
too much messiness. So I mean, I'm not great with it, but I've come to accept it
hmm
over the years and be okay with it.
You mentioned your daughter, and
Yeah.
when she was about 12, you said that even
Yeah.
she noticed that she didn't like how your family treated you. What was your mother like as a grandmother to your daughter? And did you ever have concerns, related to your own experiences?
I wanted my daughter to have the kind of relationship with my parents that I had with my maternal grandparents. My maternal grandparents were very involved. They took us everywhere. They did everything with us, spoiled us relentlessly. And yeah, I was really hoping that my daughter would have that kind of relationship with my parents, and she didn't. My mother liked them as long as, people would come up to her and they'd be like, oh my gosh, like this is your little one, and she'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
no, like I'm Baba, I'm not, you know but she loved that. She loved the attention from them when they
Mm-hmm.
were little, but then once they started to get older, um then it no longer fed her purposes. With my daughter, I didn't really have too many concerns, um, like about how she was treating her away from me,
Mm-hmm.
until my sister had come to me and said, like, there's a problem. My sister had said that, she was out for a walk with my mom and dad. They had their dogs, and my daughter was maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 at the time. And she ticked a rock off of her shoe, and it had gone near my mom's dog, and my mom lost it, like absolutely lost it on her. So yeah, I tried to justify it in my head and kind of, work my way around it and be like, because you just avoid conflict, right?
Mm-hmm.
um and then there was a few other things that had happened, and my dad and my sister and I sat down with my mom to have a conversation with her, and it didn't go well. And that's when confronted with her behavior, she threw a fit, and that's when she started chucking eggs around the kitchen and locked herself in her room and screamed and wailed and cried and everything else. And we got to scrape off eggs from her kitchen. Um, and it was something that she brought up for years afterwards, that, we had attacked her.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember telling my dad and my sister, I'm like, you guys, this is such a bad idea. It's such a bad idea. But, as a parent, I felt like I did have to say something,
Mm-hmm.
on behalf of my daughter. I think that was definitely an incident that made me realize, like, again, she was an adult when she did this.
Mm-hmm.
She was not a 16, 17-year-old kid. Like, she was a grown ass adult when she pulled that.
Yeah. And the same with the vacation story,
And the same with the vacation thing.
which I mean, both things are sort of examples of, you raising something that's important to you and her
Yeah.
responding in her own feelings about it rather than with consideration for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, just like completely emotionally immature.
Mm, yeah.
I mean, and I have no hopes and I have no expectations that that's ever going to change.
Yeah.
Um, and that's fine. It really is. I mean, I'm not happy about it. Like I said, I would
Mm,
love to have a very, healthy, happy, loving relationship with my birth family. But I have come to accept the fact that it's not going to happen.
mm,
It doesn't seem to be the happy ending that everyone always thinks of when they think of family. I think that for people that are in this situation and that are trying to talk about it, there are no words. There
yeah.
genuinely is not. And I still don't tell very many people about my estrangement with my parents because I'm like, I'm hearing the words coming out of my mouth and I'm just like, God, that sounds so lame. Like, would you
Mm,
stop talking to your mother because of, one thing? Like, would you end that relationship, with the
hmm.
person that, birthed you and raised you? Would you end up just for that one thing? And it's like, yeah, but it's not that one thing. And I
Yeah, but
think
it's
that's
impossible to
what's,
explain that in a
it
simple
is.
way to an acquaintance or whoever. Yeah, you just can't
No,
you can't
no.
explain it.
No, and I tried very awkwardly to do that with my aunt, because she is very, very close with my mother. And I tried to, and she started to cry, and then I started to cry, and I'm just like,
I mean, even among people that might know, like maybe your aunt does know she knows your mother well, maybe she knows what you're talking about, but there's still, that generation of people who think it
yeah.
doesn't matter what your parent does, it's your parent.
Well, I honestly don't even know if my aunt and I know the same person.
Ah, okay.
My
Yeah.
mother has always presented differently to everyone that's ever been in her life.
Mm,
So I couldn't tell you who
yeah.
my aunt knows.
Once you had a child of your own, how did that change, or did it change your perspective of your your relationship with your parents, and how did you see yourself in your daughter, and did it change your idea of how a parent should be?
Um, a bit. It wasn't until we had moved away from the city I had grown up in and my daughter started to get older that I realized that, um, if I wanted to have a good relationship with her, it could not be the way that my parents were trying whatever it was to do with me. So at that point in time, I was just like, I'm like, okay, I love her. I like her. I genuinely do. Like, as a person, she is great. Um, and then that made me question, like, do my parents know me as a person?
Mm,
Would they want to be friends with me now as an adult? And then I realized, I'm like, no, no, they don't. They don't treat me like a friend. They don't treat me like a peer. I'm still treated very much as a toddler or a teenager.
hmm.
I will never be an adult to them. And I'm like, I do not want that with my child. My child is her own. She is not an extension of myself. She's autonomous.
Mm,
She is self reliant and she can do whatever it is that she wants to do, not what I want her to do.
right.
And I remember I'd always told her, all I ever want for you is just to be happy and healthy. And with my parents, it was always, oh, you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, and it's your job to, get this fancy job so you can look after us when we get old. Right? Because that's what we owed them.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you don't owe me anything. It was my choice to have you, and it's your choice as to what you want to do with your adult life.
Mm-hmm.
If you're perfectly fine hanging out at home with me and your dad, please stay. If you want to go out on your own, of course, go out on your own. Whatever's going to make you happy. If you don't like it and you're like, oh, this is way too hard, I hate this adulting thing, I'm going to be like, yeah, you know what, me too. I hate it. Still don't do it very well. Come on back. We'll figure
Did
it out
you
together.
did
You
you not
know?
feel that that was an option for you as a 18-year-old
Oh,
or
God,
how?
no. No, when I was 18, I was kicked out of the house.
Mm,
And I
because
remember being very, very scared. Yeah. But
and was that just because they considered you like they were done, you grew up,
yes.
that was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Out you go. Yeah, no, my parents
Mm,
started telling us that when I remember them, talking to friends and stuff like that. And I think I was like 12 or 13 years old. And they're like, yep, as soon as they're 18, get out, get out. And I'm like, as a 12-year-old, you're like, well, that's 6 years away.
yeah, scary.
That made sense to them because, my parents were very young when they went out on their own. And I'm sure their parents were very young too.
Hmm.
Um, but no, it would never occur to me to do that. Yeah, I'm grateful, I guess, in a sense that I did have to go through this with my parents, because I personally feel that it made me a better adult parent.
Any parent whose child comes to them and says what maybe you or I would want to say to our mom is, you hurt me when you do this or this.
Right.
Um, what we want to hear is, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
intend to hurt you. I will try to change this or that behavior.
Yeah.
What a lot of these parents also say is that they're completely blindsided, right? They didn't expect this to happen. They
Yeah.
didn't know about it. So if you were to imagine then, if your daughter ever came to you with something like that, how would you respond having experienced what you have yourself?
Well, I would want to keep that communication open for as long as what I could.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if it was something that she felt that, me being there was more harmful than helpful, I would definitely be willing to take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
However, I would also be wanting to use whatever tools were available to me to try and make improvements, on myself, on the relationship, whether it be through, like meditation or counseling or,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I would be willing to put in that work.
Yeah.
Every relationship is work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every single kind of relationship that you have is work, and you get out of it what you put into it.
Mm. Yeah.
So I'm like, no, I've worked very hard to have a very good relationship with my daughter. Um, and I hope that continues for a very,
Yeah.
very long time.
Yeah.
And I think it will.
I talked to my sister about this because she has two daughters, and she said that she worries about her
Yeah.
relationship with her daughter. She wants it to be good, but because of our experience with our mom, I think she worries about the pattern repeating. So
Yes.
she's very aware of she wants to be completely different to our mother, right? But she says that, she does worry about, something happening down the line. And I try to reassure her by saying, you know how to respond
Yeah.
if there's ever a problem like that. And the reason that estrangements happen, I think, is because there's no acknowledgement of the problem, no
Yeah.
responsibility taken, and that's why things break down.
Yeah. There's no growth.
Hmm.
And you have to grow. You absolutely have to grow. And you have to acknowledge and respect the other person's growth too in that
Hmm.
relationship. And there's that maturity.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where it really comes into play is that mutual respect.
Yeah.
And I feel quite honestly, I can say that my parents did not respect me as an adult or as a parent or as an autonomous person.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, and that makes a relationship impossible.
Yeah,
A
absolutely.
genuine one, at least. Yeah.
A genuine one. It's just like any other end, um, where your family is gone. And I just kind of finally got to a point where I realized I'm like, I just have to treat them like they're dead.
Yeah.
Um, and not to be cruel, um, but it was more for my own peace of mind, just to kind of go, okay, I just have to accept the fact that there's not going to be that cathartic moment of healing. They're never
Yeah.
going to come to any kind of self realization. If they were going to do it, they would have done it by now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I finally just realized I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's you have to let them go, or at least I had to anyway. So
It's hard. It is as if they died, right? You're
yeah,
grieving the loss
yeah,
of that relationship, no matter what it
yes.
was.
I mean, and then you move on.
Hmm.
Life still is going to continue on, with or without them.
Bad Mothers is written, produced, and edited by me, Monica Cardenas. I'd love it if you'd rate and review the show and get in touch with any feedback. You can find me on my Substack, and guess what? It's called Bad Mothers too.